Hey, you! It's time for another random card story. And today we've got Vow of Duty. Okay, this one actually has a pretty wild story that you have almost certainly not heard before about the entire creation of Commander decks. Let me tell you about it. So let's flash back over a decade ago to when people are working on this multiplayer release. Now, of course, you're thinking, that must have been Commander, right? Wrong. It wasn't Commander. They're working on a multiplayer draft product. Now, years later, something kind of like that in Conspiracy would come out, but not at this time. So they were working on this multiplayer draft product, and it just wasn't working. It wasn't coming together, and they had to figure out something to do, and the big boss came down from on high and said, look, here's the deal. You can't get this multiplayer draft product working properly right now, and if you don't get it working by a certain deadline, like a couple months from now, we're going to cancel this product, and instead, we're going to do something else. We're going to do Commander decks. There's this new format. We're just going to try these one-off Commander decks for this little format, and then we'll try this drafting at another point in time. And suddenly the team started thinking, well, actually, Commander's pretty fun, so maybe we don't care about this draft format as much. And thus, the first ever Commander decks were born. It was an accident. Like, these decks were not originally intended to be decks. It was intended to be a whole draft set. But these decks were the backup plan. Can you believe that? Commander decks were the backup plan. Now flash forward 10 years later, or over 10 years later, and man, it seems like far less than a backup plan. It's not the most popular way to play Magic in the world. What does Vow of Duty have to do with any of this? Well, when they were making this original draft experience, they were looking for kinds of cards that would be very interesting to put in a draft experience. And the Vows were an idea from Scott Larrabee, and he was on that original team that he had as part of a way to make multiplayer Magic particularly interesting. So it's one of the tiny bits that started all the way back in that initial product idea and then survived all the way through to when they became Commander decks. Pretty wild story, right?